Wednesday, December 6th, 2023. And oh my gosh, what a big show on The View today. Um, there's so much to talk about, but we're going to start with Sara Haynes, who for some reason got the first crack at the topic today. It's I'm never quite sure how they decide who's going to go first. Amy Alyssa Farrah Griffin seems to get that spot a lot, usually because it's, hey, the Republican Party sucks, defend it. And so she does her best. But when, excuse me, Sara was talking about she didn't really understand how anti-Semitism was sort of, you know, almost accepted as the norm or forgiven. And she said, globally, and then immediately followed that up with around the world, as if globally would have meant something other than around the world. But and she seemed surprised to herself to say it twice. It made me giggle out loud. And the you know I'm enjoying Amy Alyssa Farrah Griffin. She's got a lot of interesting things to say. She's very repetitive, which is right in the GOP wheelhouse. But when Sunny's making her point about the rule of law, that's when you have to shut up and listen. So because she's actually explaining something to you about the law that you're not considering, or you may not be considering. So it was interesting the tension between the two of them today, because what Sunny's trying to say is that these the freedom of speech protects all the speech, including things that you don't like or things that make you uncomfortable. You're allowed to say stuff that is cruel, and you can't. There's limits to it, right? This is sort of a little bit of a nuanced issue. You can't yell fire in a theater, and if you're intimidating one-on-one, that is a different conversation than if you are talking on a megaphone on a campus lawn. But what I found interesting was the point that Amy Alyssa Farrah Griffin was trying to make, and I think she may have been able to make it better if she had just shut up for a little bit, let Sunny finish her thought, and then discussed it rather than interrupting her multiple times. The point she was trying to make is that you can talk rule of law all you want, but on a college campus can create a code of conduct that is more strict than that. And Sunny said, no, they can't. And I don't agree with that, Sunny, because there's additional codes of conduct that we have to adhere by all the time, all over the place. And I'm pretty sure that if I sent a company-wide email out that called for the eradication of Jews, I'm pretty sure I'd be fired. It might not be illegal for me to say that, but it doesn't mean I'm going to get to keep my job. And so, Amy Alyssa Farrah Griffin's argument that college campuses could be doing a better job at making people feel safe by creating codes of conduct that are a little more specific. I feel like she's right. And especially when you're talking about Harvard, it's a private university. I mean, if they can dictate what you wear, right, they probably have a little bit of leeway on the kinds of rhetoric that they want thrown around campus. So there, I agreed with Allyssa. I just didn't agree with the way she was trying to make her point. And then what's her face from Sex and the City, which is the one thing they didn't mention, Cynthia Nixon, that she's on that program too. And I wish she had run for mayor of New York instead of governor. That big tall dingus whose name escapes me now. What the fuck was his name? He tried to run for president. He was such a moron. It would have moved him out of the way, and God, it perhaps saved us from this freaking criminal who's sitting in Gracie Mansion now. But anyway, she came on and she like sort of schooled them all, and like, this is how you talk about it. This is how you say, I don't agree that killing innocent people is appropriate, no matter what side of the argument that you're on. So you can say that you don't agree with the tactics of a military operation. It doesn't necessarily mean you have any particular feeling towards people of that religion or people of that country or people of that origin. And I thought she was very passionate and succinct, and I wish that that message would just get out more broadly, that clearly. Like you just, but she shouldn't have said, you don't ask the question about whether or not Palestinian children have the same value and then say we hope the answer is yes. You say Palestinian children have the same value as any other children. So otherwise, I thought she was right on it. And I don't usually talk about guests, but today was so full of them. Matt frickin' Rogers. If you haven't YouTubed his videos for those Christmas songs, I highly recommend it. The one he was talking about, the breakup song, is like heartfelt. You know, I hope you get what you want, but then it's like, I don't really know what the fuck you ever wanted. It's hilarious, and they're also sneaky because they look like traditional Christmas songs and videos, but then they're 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 almost absurdist. And you know, it doesn't hurt that he's got movie star looks, but you know, he was clearly, you know, he didn't. I don't think he grew up with that kind of, you know, I'm a good-looking guy, bravado, ego thing. He's you know, a theater nerd because he looks like, you know, he would be the high school football quarterback, but then as soon as he starts talking, it's like 100% drama club. So you know, he's an absolute joy, and his Christmas music is hilarious. But it's one of those things I feel like if you don't watch it with the traditional kind of video to go along with it, I don't know that the songs themselves on their own are something that I'd want to listen to. Anyway, but he's a joy. And you know, I would love to be Kelly Clarkson's sidekick on her talk show, but I think he would get that job way before I would. I don't think he wants it though. He's biz. And then Norman Lear died. You know, it's one of those things, you sort of forgot that he was alive until he started doing those things again, with Jimmy Kimmel, the live productions of some of the original scripts of his shows. And man, he was just like sharp as a tack a year ago doing those things. And I think I think he was 99, maybe 100 when he won an Emmy for one of those live shows. So I don't think anybody's going to break that record as the oldest Emmy winner. But one of the things they don't ever talk about with him is how much material he got out of sort of a single universe. All in the Family was the sort of the catapult for most of those groundbreaking shows that he did. The Jeffersons was a spinoff. You know, George and Wheezy were the neighbors, and then the Jeffersons had a spinoff, a very short-lived spinoff called Checking In, which was Florence running a hotel or something. It didn't last very long. Maude was a spinoff. She was Edith's cousin, and then Maude's maid Florida got spun off into Good Times in her own show, and there was a spinoff called Gloria about the daughter, and then it sort of spun itself off at the end into Archie Bunker's place. And I don't think there's another television show that created that many other shows based on its own, based on characters that were from one show. I know you can look at like Law and Order has a bazillion, but that's just taking a premise and moving it around to different parts of the justice system. This was characters that were in one program that moved to another, and then created more programs out of that. I just I don't think any other show did as many of that kind of. I think Happy Days only had four, like Joni and Chachi, Laverne and Shirley, and Mork and Mindy, right? So anyway, those are all my thoughts about The View today, and I assume tomorrow we get to talk about Kevin McCarthy quitting Congress by the end of the year. So that's two Republican congressmen for which there will be special elections to replace their seats. Santos could lose. The Santos seat could go to a Democrat potentially. I think McCarthy's seat is pretty firmly red, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Because if people hammer home the abortion rights, I think we could see some tides turning. At least I'm hopeful for that. And that's a Wednesday.